So we must do two things, two great things together to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself.
So what is that regeneration that we experience? Actually, we see that we are being led right into the third main tone, where it is our reformation. That regeneration is a reformation of us. And thus we come to the main tone of soul, which is the prayer of sinlessness, fulfilling the Christ demand to rebuke sin, brings us into unity with soul's ability to reform. So by being true to the prayer of mind and the prayer of spirit, we are brought naturally by the dynamic in the system, the dynamic in the nature of being, brings us to soul, where we are working out our sinlessness, our complete sinlessness, which fulfills the Christ demand. And into the third tone now will come the introduction of the term Christian for the first time, showing us that, well, you see, when we come to soul, we come to the self-organizing principle as the identity principle. And the way she will show that forth in the subject is that she will show that identity principle as the principle of self-regulation. The principle that is bringing forth our steady state, a new steady state. And the new steady state that is coming forth is that which will equifinalize the point of love in a Christian. Now, what they see in cybernetics, in systems, in the study of living systems, is that the moment the new steady state comes in, the equifinality is assured. Can you hear this? It's a relationship between soul and love, and it's something we see in our practice too, when we practice according to the days of creation. When we take, for instance, the order, the Genesis order in the days of creation, we see that very relationship between soul and love. And it's spirit that says there is only one value. There is only one. That spirit is all to do with the onlyness, isn't it? If you have mind and spirit and you see how they relate to each other, spirit is that which says, mind, you are the only thing, the one thing, that there's no other, nothing else to focus on. It's the adorable one. The adorable one gives you that whole quality, that whole atmosphere of true spiritual worship, of giving total worth to one thing, to the spiritual. It's such an important point about what happens when we reach soul or touch soul, that now this soul tone is going to show us our reformation, how we are reformed. It is a tone that is filled with a lot of terms that we have mistakenly given a religious context to, a religious connotation to, and these terms will have to be seen cybernetically. So the regeneration that takes place as spirit focuses on mind and causes within us is the autocatalysis within us to keep going back to mind, to keep utilizing the rule of mind. This brings something forth. It's that same relationship we talked about of mind, spirit, and soul going through the text, that it's the same thing you find in the days of creation, that as you take the light of mind, and you focus on that, and you don't allow anything else to have your focus, that as you focus, you feel that's the only thing, the one thing. This is the firmament within consciousness, isn't it? The light of mind, to the light of mind you give the firmament of spirit. That is, that you separate away anything that is not the light of mind and focus only on that light, that information, that intelligence, that wisdom, that which has been given to you by mind. This is a veiling of the rule. And so as mind and spirit, they form then a loop. You see, mind, through its 7 subtones, is itself, forms a closed loop. But as that closed loop is going on, it's actually it becomes spirit. It becomes the autocatalysis of spirit. And so you have mind and spirit then as a closed loop. But they don't stay closed. They don't stay within themselves. They bring forth something else. Then soul comes in to that loop. Because mind and spirit, just as in the first and second days, if you are absolutely true to that second day, the third day comes in. It's not, let there be the third day, let there be dry land. The dry land appears. It just appears, it happens, it's a happening at the point of soul. Soul is the happening that comes out of the trueness to mind and spirit. This is what happens in the prayer chapter now, that something is coming out of that regenerating of mind and spirit in relationship to each other in a closed loop relationship. Now, that regeneration becomes the reformation of soul. And a new form appears. The new form is a new steady state. The old steady state has been broken down, has been destabilized. A new steady state comes in, and we get the indication that the equifinality of this that is appearing in the steady state is a Christian. So the question of a Christian comes up in the soul tone and in the love tone of the chapter. And the steady state now, the new steady state, is able to appear because of the self-regulating principle, because soul is regulating everything. And how does it regulate? It will regulate from the standpoint of absolute Christian Science, and Christian science. Just as the whole chapter is the phenomenon of the interrelationship of absolute Christian science and Christian science, and so behind the appearing of that new steady state, the text somehow shows this is because of the interworking of the homeoraisa and the homeostasis. So again, at the point of mind, the main tone of mind, mind says, I give you those components, that constituency of the divine nature that are autocatalytic. And Spirit says, they have the dynamic, therefore, within themselves to grow within you. The spiritual nature is growing within you. Like produces like. And as this goes on habitually, Spirit is life, what comes out is the assimilation of the divine character. Spirit is truth. And as that divine character is assimilated, you come to the attractor in that whole field of Spirit that there is a regeneration taking place. Spiritual growth. And so then soul can come in, must come in, and show that that regeneration is a reformation, that you are being dynamically turned into, evolved into the Christ selfhood, your Christ selfhood, your divine cybernetic selfhood. That's the Christian is a Christ consciousness, an individual Christ consciousness, a Christ likeness, a divine cybernetic consciousness. Isn't that beautiful? And can you see that we can't start with the third, that we can't start with soul? Regeneration and reformation makes no sense without mind and spirit. It would just...
Tilling the ground.
Yes. It's a moral, would be a moral effort then to try to be like Jesus, like the Christ, to be Christ-like, and trying to do what Jesus did. And this is what the ordinary sense of Christianity in the world tries to do. And it's just a religious effort, isn't it? It isn't a scientific law at work. It's a religious, human effort to try to be like Jesus. And then out of that comes the looking at oneself to see how much one is like that character. And then it's not enough to look at oneself. One looks at everyone else, and you often uses oneself as the standard, thinking that one is very much like Jesus and what he did and what he said and so forth, and then tests, uses oneself as the identity principle to test everyone else. And then all of that business of judgment and guilt and all of that stuff comes up.